SPSN.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the CAVS Hour. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, here from the Scene Project Sports Network. With me again, as always, head coach Tom Culver. Tom, another big win for the boys in Gregory last week.
Yeah, we're happy with our kids. We told them going out there, they had a couple injuries, but we still knew that Gregory's got a lot of pride and a lot of tradition, so their kids were going to play hard, and they did. But we responded well and come out with a big win.
A historically tough team to play against down there. They got a great program, and we talked about it a little bit on the show last week, that they did have some injuries, mainly at the quarterback position, right. An ankle sprain or something, I think you said. So they're playing with a backup quarterback. Did that kind of inform your strategy going forward with the defensive game?
Yeah, a little bit, and we even had to adjust on the fly. Austin Koch, that runs the defense, we got out there, and the backup quarterback, he hurt his shoulder and is out for the season. So now they're thinking, okay, who are they going to do? Well, they ended up playing their wide receiver, who's like 6'6", played him at quarterback for a while, and then they split him out. And so, you kind of, like we were talking about earlier, the best laid plans you have, and then you show up, and then, all kinds of things are different, different quarterback, and then they, number 22, the two brothers, the Kaiser, 12 was the 6'6" older brother, then 22, his younger brother, played some quarterback and, tried to throw it up to him, and it's tough when, your defensive backs are like 5'10".
Right. Yeah, we got a pretty small backfield back there. But it didn't stop you guys from having some success in the passing defensive game either. And you had a lot of success running the ball this week, I saw in the highlights as well. Can you talk about the strategy, something maybe you identified in their defense to really attack the outsides this week?
Yeah, one of the things that we saw, they ran a 4-2 defense, and historically in all the years that I've run the wishbone and ran option football, a 4-2 we've had a lot of success against, and partly because of the reason, you've got that defensive end, if he commits to the quarterback, our tight end has a really good blocking angle on their inside linebacker, and then you have a lead back that's our blocking back that for that corner. And theoretically, if you get everybody blocked like you're supposed to, the only guy that's able to make tackles is the middle safety, that free safety in the middle. And usually, if the free safety is making a lot of tackles, it's going good for your offense.
Yeah, you're 15 yards down the field more than likely, and stacking up first downs. We also had some great special teams play again from the thing, and I think that's where we're going to start at with our highlights this week. Talk about your special teams and just the play that you're getting out of them right now.
Well, they've been doing a great job, and Coach Van Winkle is, he's got a different wrinkle that we practice every week for, depending on, what other teams do, and you can see like on this first one, and part of the reason we weren't coming after this punt, but a bad snap, then that obviously changes the strategy, because then those 4 kids up front are coming after it. And so, but he's done a good job with these kids, and later in the game, I guess I don't think I have that on the highlight, but our kids were able to get a push and get back, crowd the punter, and the punter punted it off in one of his own kids' helmet, because of the push that we got up front. So, I mean, Jared's done a great job with those kids, and they're excited because, when it comes time for the other team to punt, they're thinking, are we going after it? Because, I mean, I remember I told the kids here the other day, when my first year as a head football coach, I was at Wakanda, and Wakanda gave Ovalin, and Ron Flynn, who's a legendary girls basketball coach, he was the AD, and this was before email and cell phones and all that stuff. And every once in a while, he would leave notes in my mailbox. And one day I went in there and I picked up, and there's a handwritten note in there, and it says, "Don't forget to put the special in special teams." And so, that's always kind of stuck with me. But if you watch a lot of football, it's amazing how many times that a special teams play will turn the tide of a game. And so that, we focus on that, and Jared does a great job with those kids.
Awesome. Well, you got one of them dialed up for us here. Let's kind of walk through it and we'll check it out here.
All right. So when they're coming here now, they had a little more. They've got these 3 personal protectors in here, 3 interior linemen, then they got the 2 guys split out. But, I think sometimes, they had the film of Scott Lamento and saw we had 2 block punts. And they're probably thinking, okay, we've got to, do a better job here. We got to make sure we take care of that. And well, if you get people thinking about things, sometimes this long snapper, and then all of a sudden, so you can see here, we roll it. He had to, and he was a fairly tall kid, and he had to jump up and get it the way it was. So we ended up, and what's important too is, and the kids did a good job, is the outside contain guys got to make sure that they don't take a bad angle, because the minute you take a bad angle and he gets outside.
Well, right, because he's not thinking about kicking the ball. As soon as that ball's over his head, he's thinking, how do I pick this up and make something of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage at this point.
Yeah.
You're backed up almost to the end zone already. So this kid's going to grab the ball and he's thinking running. So you have to be able to contain that. Otherwise, you may be giving up a big play the other direction and giving up a first down on what should have been a play like it ended up happening here.
Yeah, and especially when you got the 2 split guys, our defenders on them are going with them. They're going downfield. They don't know it's snapped over his head. And so they've got their back to the punter. If he gets outside that contain guy, we're in trouble, and they've got a first down and much more probably.
So really the point to watch here is that our outside game. Are you able to roll this back for us? Hit that 10-second spot there, and we'll just roll it back and watch this one more time. Rewind to 10 seconds there. We'll just watch this one again. So really it comes down to, number 9 and 67 here, that they can very easily take a bad angle to that, and he's shifting outside and is down the sideline.
Yeah.
So that was a really great play by the boys there to run contain on the special teams unit, and to not let what was potentially a huge play for us turn into a really bad play.
Yeah, right, absolutely. So yeah, our kids, that's pretty key, and like we keep telling them, football is such a team game, the ultimate team game, because it's hard for one person to take over a game, but if one person doesn't do their job on a given play, it can mess up the whole thing.
Right. All right. And some more defense here again, or is this?
Yeah, a little more defensive play here. This is a sack. Again, it starts with not a very good snap. All right, we get back there, we take, and
once again, containment was key on that one, because if you're taking bad angles to that ball off the snap, or you're heading towards the ball and not thinking about your rules and your job in the moment, it's very easy for one of these athletic kids in the backfield to grab that ball and go. Yeah. We got some really athletic quarterback play in our league and in this in this district. So
yeah, there's a lot of good players, and we'll see that again this upcoming week too, with a pretty good athlete back there. So you've got to be disciplined, because about the time you're not, that's when things go bad. All right, so we can go to our next one here. This is interception, and I'll kind of set it up here. They've got guys split to both sides. Anyway, they've got number 12. He's the 6'6" kid out here. We're in a 3 front 3-3. We got a guy out here wide, corner over here, I think, and then in the middle is Caden Zomer, and he's supposed to read the quarterback. And you'll see it's pretty obvious. This is going to be, Gregory's hoping for a brother-to-brother connection here, and he drops back and
he's looking that way the whole time. So the safety's able to key on that. He knows where he's trying to go with the football.
Yeah.
And you don't see him, you don't get to see the safety necessarily on this shot, but I'm sure his eyes are lighting up as he's watching the quarterback zero in on his brother out there and going, okay, well, I got a chance to undercut this one and come away with a pick.
Right. And he, and he kind of shading that way a little bit because we knew he's their best receiver.
Right.
But when he was playing quarterback earlier, you know, he didn't have any gloves on, and then when in the huddle he's putting on his gloves and thinking,
Right.
okay, he's going to, you know, that's a little forewarning. But you know, Caden,
Like stealing signs in baseball, right? You're paying attention. That awareness though is key because not all teams and not all players have that.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to be to have that, you know, 5 or 10 seconds of knowing before he runs out to the sideline there and starts to take it.
Yeah.
Your guys are already thinking, hey, this is a pass and it's probably going his way.
yeah, and coach is yelling out there, you know, that he's going to receiver. As long as that ball was in the air, you know, Caden could undercut that, and you know he saw it, and like you said, he's, you know, quarterback's looking that way all the way. He wasn't going to throw it to anybody else. And
no, there was one route on that trip that was it was going deep and it was going his direction.
Yeah. So, all right, and I think I have
2 picks in back-to-back weeks for Caden now, though, right? So starting to stack them up.
I think here's our first score. This is it's still 0-0. This is our very first drive, and we're going to run a 17 option, and so. And the sun is kind of glare here, but for everybody that not sure about what an option is, here's what we're telling our kids. Our fullback, his route that he takes, and we have a midline too, but this is what his aiming point is outside hip of the guard. When the guard is in his stance, he's aiming outside hip of the guard. All right, and that's the thing with against his 4-2 defense. That linebacker gets put in a bad spot. You know, our end's going out to block him, but you know, with a good ride of the fullback, and we tell the quarterback 2 things. He's taking a 45 step back toward the fullback, getting the ball in his stomach early, keeping it there as long as you can, and there's, you know, little fundamentals we do if he's going to give it or pull it. But then he's staring at this defensive end. What are you doing? All right. Are you standing there? Are you biting on the fullback ride? And then he'll either pull it. In this case, Madden does a good job. He pulls it and pitches it, and then Major is out front blocking. Defensive end committed, Major blocks the corner, and Luke gets makes a good play here.
Yeah, and that one, we're going to go back to the slow-mo on that one after we get through the top of the highlights. I think I'd like to take a little bit closer look at that one because so many things have to go right. So many guys have to be doing their job in that moment for it to really go and end up as a touchdown, right? I mean, if one person misses a block or doesn't do their job, that's not a scoring drive. So, interesting. We're going to get another look at some outside run here on this one, right, Coach?
Yes. Yeah, I think we're got basically the same thing going. You get a little better angle at it, you know, and so he does a really good job.
Is that the same play?
Same play.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looks very similar. I'm getting a little deja vu here.
Yeah, same play, and they did a better job going to the right. You know, they had number 12, who was the Kaiser, the 6'6" safety. They did a little better job on that side. And a lot of times you'll see in high school football, especially in 9-man, maybe not, I'm not sure about the 11-man ranks and stuff, but a lot of teams tend to be stronger offensively to the right, more right-handed quarterbacks and right-handed running, and so that side of the defense will be a little tougher.
Right, so running from the offensive side, running to the left-hand side, so defenses will stack that side to play against it, and that's mainly because of the right-handed quarterback has to turn and put that there. Not a lot of quarterbacks in these ranks are able to turn and put it in the belly on the other side and to work on those mechanics.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, so you know, that I'm kind of under the philosophy of if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
You know, we got down there, they didn't
run it till they stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. In 2002, at another school, we were in the state championship game, and we had one series where we scored. It was like 60 some yards, and we ran, I don't remember if it was 6 or 8 plays, but we ran the same play to opposite sides, and we're getting 7, 8, 9 yards of crack, and I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel at that point.
No, until they prove they can stop that, then we'll do something different. And
yeah, and then we're going to run play action off of that one or something, or a counter.
Right, exactly. So that was
do you feel like, especially because the NFL has become so just so intricate, right? So detail focused, that do you think a lot of coaches tend to overthink play calling, and in that regard that they're always trying to kind of be the smartest guy in the room instead of just going with what works sometimes?
Yeah, I've seen games where I've actually said to my assistant coaches, somebody's doing something against us, and all of a sudden I go, well, thank you. They changed, they did something, and it backfired. And I've seen in state championship games where people are running the ball and having success and just pounding it at people and moving it downfield, and the other team can't stop it. And all of a sudden they think, well, I'm going to do something fancy here. Fancy turns into an interception, a turnover, and then the whole complexion of the game.
It's so easy to change momentum in this game, isn't it, Coach?
Absolutely. And you're dealing with high school kids that,
a little fragile on the mental side sometimes. They just don't have the life experience yet.
They don't have the experiences and, develop, the personality to their fullest extent. And so it's tougher. So, if you're having success, keep doing what you're doing until somebody stops it. All right, let's see. Remember which one we have here next. I think this is counter tray, and
now you're building off of that. This is a great example of what we were kind of just talking about. I think you can use that back 10-second button if you want to run this one again too. But you ran a counter with all that motion going out. These guys have already been scored on twice by that stupid play, and now you're in their heads, and you're able to simply just change that, a little variation of it, send all the motion that way, hand it off to Isaiah there, and let him walk in.
Well, and here's this is what we call a counter tray, and some of us that are a little older remember the Washington Redskins in the 80s and the counter tray and the hogs they had in the offensive line. But we're making this look like our 17 option as Luke is going out in here. All right, and our front guys up here, we're down blocking left, down blocking left. Peyton is our left guard. He's pulling, he's going to kick out this defensive end. Our tight end, Zach, is coming up, and he's coming up here. He ends up meeting somebody right in the hole here, and then and Major's able to take it in the end zone. So if you can be effective with the option, and this is our counter off the option, this is pretty effective because you can see linebackers and everybody going the opposite way.
Right, and sorry, that was Major going in there for the touchdown. I got confused watching. It was like 3-card money in the backfield there. Everything was moving.
Yeah, so it's that was a pretty good play for us, and I actually
earmarked that one. I want to go back and see how that one developed as well.
Okay.
We get a couple of the slow-mo looks and let you break it down further.
Okay. And this one is
just huck it out there and let him go.
Yeah, and this is what we call a 35 pitch. And here, let me pause it. And they've got guys inside and these linebackers, and you can see our tight end here at the time is Logan Stark, and he's just got to try. He's taking his step left, and he's trying to hook this defensive end. Linebackers inside. This corner is back, and he's pretty much head up on that tight end. So if we can get this back is his job, just take off.
Right.
And
You're saying our guy's faster. You give
Yeah.
him the ball and let him go. And all Logan really has to do is try to get to that outside shoulder of the defensive end and give him a bump. Maybe get him off his step enough to where he can then lead block and maybe take out another defensive back as well.
Yeah, and to give credit on this, we just added this week, and Austin Koch is saying, you know, we haven't run that pitch you have yet. He said, maybe this might be a good time if they got guys stacked inside like that. You know, we can sprint to the outside. So we said, okay, that sounds like good.
Well, and it just set up perfectly for you because I mean, look at this side of it. It's easy for even a novice like me to look at it and be like, they are leaving a ton of field. You got the wide side of the field out there.
Yeah.
Everybody is stacked over here. You got 3, 5, 7 guys inside of the guard essentially. Just chuck it out there and get to work, young man.
Yeah, and then on top of it, these guys are going to the right, so you know that they're taking all these defenders on this side have to take a step, you know, to honor that. So
just an easy pitch and catch there, and you know, 20 some yards later, right? That's a huge gain.
Yeah, that was a big gain here. Now this was right before half. This is the first time we ran this formation, and this play we added this week. We've got several. This is our 2-minute offense, and I think we had 4th down here, and you'll be able to see, but we have 2 receivers split out on each side, and the outside receiver is going to do a curl route, and you'll see him come into the picture, just a 5-yard curl. And the inside guys are rubbing off of him and going to the outside run.
Almost like a little wheel route, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's what we call it, as wheels. So you can see, and then Madden does a good job of, paused it. He's coming there.
It's almost a little pick play that they call, but what are you gonna do? That's just great play design there.
Yeah. The other thing I got to make sure that I tell, you know, it kind of looked like, you know, Luke was a receiver out there, like he might have tried to block him a little bit, but we just told him, come up, get your hands up like you're ready to
right.
You want to catch the football.
Yeah.
If he runs into you, it's not your fault, you know. So.
Yeah. So even though the play went well, there's still coaching points that you can come back to, and this is what film study is really all about. For those of you watching, I mean, this is what you do every Monday with the boys, right? You guys are sitting down, going over it. Whether the play went well or not, there's always something that somebody could be doing better on these as well.
Yeah, and I know the 3 of us spend a lot of time on the weekend, you know, on film study and, you know, breaking things down and, you know, okay, what can we do better? What do we do good? And, you know, it's, and then Monday we go through it with the kids. So, and you know, the good thing is, and the nice thing about Huddle is we know how much the kids are watching, because at times it gives you how much in the last week they've been watching film, you know, and we've got kids that are going an hour, 2 hours or more watching.
Absorbing it. Yeah, really good. So again, shout out to Huddle. What a great program of supplying this tape and having a place where these kids can go, where coaches can go, where we can use the footage to make this show, to highlight some of these plays and what we're doing. So shout out to Huddle. We appreciate you guys so much.
All right, here's our next one here. This is just we call it a quarterback.
That's just
wedge.
Power running right there.
Yeah, we got down to the 1 yard line, and you know, they were shooting guys out into the B gap, which we call our 3 or 4 hole, the guard end gap there. And so,
which is where you do a lot of your damage. You're running off of there a lot, so it wouldn't be surprising that a defense is trying to stop that. But then you're taking it straight through the A gap there with your big quarterback, and there's not a lot of people on the field that are bigger than him either.
Yeah, you know, you got a 6'1", 195 quarterback. I mean, as long as, and then our linemen, they're told you know, we have a dive or a quarterback sneak, but we all you know, like a dive for the fullback. But we also have what we call a wedge, and so the linemen on either side of the center, all 4 of them, are stepping toward the center and just trying to make a wall, or a wedge, and just drive people back, just like you would if you were practicing on
The old Philly tush push almost there, huh?
Yeah, except in high
The
school.
9-man football version of it anyway.
Yeah, except high school, you can't touch the runner from behind, or pull him or anything.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL changes those rules in the future either.
Well, all it's going to take probably is for one guy to get hurt somehow, and then they'll make, it's just like there never used to be a horse collar tackle until Terrell Owens got pulled from behind that time and broke his ankle, so, rules sometimes are a reaction to things that happen. This is a long run by Major. We just have it's a lead. We do a good job, and he does a really good job.
Just patience.
Yeah.
Just such patience in there.
Yeah.
Does he get in for the touchdown here? I don't know if the play he did. All right,
yeah.
Good for him. So Major had a great day, huh?
Yeah, and he did a good thing here because they snuck one linebacker up in the B gap or in the A gap here, and so if we all block down here and do our job up front, and so we got fullback's going to kick out this guy. We got back leading, and they were all, you can kind of see, and let me see if I can pause it at that point to show what okay.
Now, was this a short down and distance run here? They seemed like they were really selling out to stop a short run at this point.
Yeah, I think it was like second or third and 2 or something like that, if I remember right. On the whole film, it has at the top, it has all the down distance and everything, but you can see here, these guys are, earlier on, they were kind of cheating inside. And so we were trying to seal them and get to the outside. Well, this time you can see the linebacker is out here. He's going to come up. The safety's running up here. And then Major sees that gap and he comes right through this alley and then, gets back to the outside. He makes one guy miss, and then he's running away, and
off to the races, man.
Yeah. So, and there was a penalty because that was a horse collar tackle.
Right.
All right. This is a what we call the counter blast, and it kind of starts.
You could drive your Ford through that one.
Yeah.
You could see that hole develop real early.
Yeah. And I'll pause it here and get. So what we're doing is we're faking. Isaiah had a bunch of good runs. He had, as a fullback, last week he had 116 yards rushing. This week he had 79. When you're running the type of offense that we do, if your fullback is getting 70, 80, 90 yards a game, I mean, they have to respect that. They can't cheat outside.
Right, and then the handoff on those happens so fast, right? I mean, you have to be quick to react to those plays. It's such a weapon, and not just in his own plays, but in what it does to a defense on the backside of that, because they're overreacting now to every single fake, and they just have to be that much more on top of their game.
Yeah, and then so we faked Isaiah to the right, a cross block, our end blocks down on the tackle, our guard kicks out, back leads up the hole, and as you can see when it comes here, it's there is nobody.
They're turning around and looking around like, what just happened?
Yeah. So that's the ones that have on the Highland.
Incredible. Is there a way that we can go back to a couple of those plays? We had a couple of those runs that I really wanted to get in and highlight. I don't know if you're able to pull them up again. And just to give us a little bit more coach's insight into kind of what it takes to build this one. Now, this was the first option, I do believe, here, right?
Do you want me to do the second one because that's clear?
Okay, yeah, let's do the second one. It was both the same play, so.
Yes.
And again, we're dealing with, high school football huddle. We love you guys for giving us this, but we can't do much about the film that we do get. So.
Yeah. So on this 17 option, so like I said earlier, Isaiah here at fullback, he's taken this route into that gap. He's going before when the left guard or right guard, depending on which way we're going. When that guard is in his stance, his path is where that guard's hip was at the snap. Now on this one, where this kid is, he's way out here. So we never block the defensive end on an option. We want him to make a commitment.
You're trying to put them in conflict. You have two guys coming at him. Both of them, one of them has the ball. The other one's ready to receive the ball, and you have to make him make a decision. That's the whole, the real basis of an option play.
Yeah. And if this guy comes running out here at the pitch man or the lead blocker, then the quarterback, if he doesn't hand it off to the fullback, is supposed to follow behind.
Right.
And he turns into a runner. So
that's exactly why the triple, especially the option plays, are just so dangerous.
Yeah, they're hard to defend. And the biggest word that you hear, and if you listen to, college football analysts and stuff like that, one of the things that the word that they'll mention over and over and over again about defending the option is discipline. I mean, you can't think, well, I thought, well, yeah, that's the problem. Here's what you're supposed to do. You have quarterback all the time, or you have fullback, you have pitch man, or whatever the case is. But the other thing that makes a difference is, like the old saying goes, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes. Who, if your kid is a really good quarterback and he can run that, and he's better, I mean, there's not much you can do about that. Or if this kid, that corner's supposed to come up and make a play, but in this case, you got Major who's out there who's pretty physical, and he lays a good block and gets in the way. I mean, there's a lot of times not much you can do. But so again, Madden here at quarterback, his job when he opens up, he's not looking at the fullback. He's, and like when we practice a lot of times, I'll stand out over here because I want to see where his eyes are.
Yeah.
And if he's looking down, he said, you got to trust the fullback. He's going to be where he's supposed to be.
Right.
And Isaiah will be. All right. But you can't read this guy if you're not looking at him. I mean, and the other thing, there's a little phrase, and I heard it first in basketball, but I think it applies to football too, is fake slow, move quick. Sometimes, like in basketball, a kid will give a shot fake and they'll give it so fast that the defender doesn't even move. Well, it was small, quick, but get it up there and making the same thing with the option. Give a good long ride fake, give yourself more time to read where that defensive end is doing. And, that's something that, obviously we need to keep working on a little bit, but you can see Madden opens up, he's looking, he rides that guy, and and all it takes is a little break.
Can you go back now and I'm going to see if you pause it right here. He waits until that defensive end is right in his face before he gets rid of that ball, and the defensive end isn't even trying to make a play on him because he's thinking, right? And he's trying to guard both guys, and it's just not possible. And you can see him. He steps and he's thinking about the pitch, and that's the kind of, it seems like he could have very easily handed that ball to the fullback. Isaiah's probably getting in on that too. Or he could have followed Isaiah because this guy is leaning the other way. I mean, he really had all the options available to him.
Yeah, and right before I paused it, I didn't notice that till right now, but you can see that defensive end kind of like shuffling out, like, what do I do here? And
well, by the time that Madden pitches it, he's pretty much face to face with him, right? He's right in his face, and the defensive end's still not making a play on anyone. He's just out there in no man's land.
Yeah, and he's got to decide. So he finally tries to come up at him, but by that time it's too late.
Yeah, the game happens so fast. Yeah. So even though they're just they're high school kids, these are athletes. I see these kids in the weight room. I see them around town. This is no joke when they're out here. The game happens fast, even on grass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is that counter trade we ran. So we were talking about. So we had scored 2 touchdowns on option, on the 17 option to the left. And so now we're faking. He's going out here like he's going to be the pitch man. You got these guys are blocking down, and the back 2 guys here are pulling. We got a kick out block and a lead. Now you can see on this, the middle linebacker here, well, he's actually playing a safety, but he's up close enough to be a linebacker. He takes a step this way, and as Zach, our left end, is coming around, they run into each other right here enough to slow him down that Major gets through the hole, so again, it's a ride fake away, and you can see, and I'll back up here, and you can see on this that these guys on this side go peeling out there. This guy, their best, he's their best player, their best defensive player, linebacker here, number 22. He reads it and then starts coming back, but it's too late, and he gets sealed off. These guys take off to the other side. So you see, whoops. The one especially, he goes, and well, by that time it's too late.
Yeah, there's just no chance to catch it. So some really great stuff this week, Coach. I appreciate you taking time for us and explaining these things. A great game, another big win. The boys have to be building some confidence now, especially after the way the game went a few weeks ago. Well, like we talked about, they could have folded up and really given up and not come out the next week. But they have now 2 weeks in a row, feeling that juice and some momentum. What do we have to look forward to this week? What's our next opponent?
Well, Kimball White Lake is coming in. I think they might be 2-1 or 2-2. I think. But I mean, they had some studs last year. They graduated a few kids, but I mean, they're pretty solid. They lost a 2-point game to Platte Geddes the other night, and Platte Geddes has got a good team. They beat DeSmit first game of the year, 36-34. They lost to Parks, and they played them, fairly tough. I think it was 26-0. Parkston was up, and then I think late they scored. Kimball White Lake scored a couple touchdowns, but I mean, their coaches do a good job. They're aggressive, and they've got an athletic quarterback, so we'll have to contend with that again. So
yeah, well, and nice to have that Scotland Meadow game, especially that kid could really run around back there. But I think your boys probably learned a lot of that, and it gave you some good tape to say, hey, don't do this, right? Or this is where you went right to do that. Home game this week?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to being there for that one. I can't wait to do it. Coach Culver, thanks again for jumping on with us here on CAVS Hour. Everyone, make sure you tune in on the Scene Project Sports Network. We'll have a lot more great coverage for you coming in the weeks that keep on doing it. As long as Coach is going to give me a little bit of his Sunday, I'm going to be here and capturing this. Love highlighting our boys. What a game from Major. He had a ton of yards. Yeah. 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think we saw 3 from him just on tape. So
yeah, he had some. Luke had a couple. So I mean,
everybody's getting in at this point. Once you see those TDs stacking up on the stat sheet, it makes you work a little bit harder, right? We all have, I know these kids aren't thinking about it in the moment, but these all conference accolades and things moving forward, when you start to talk about moving into, applying for colleges and moving to that next phase of your possible playing career, it's important. So appreciate you taking time to chop all this up. You've done all the tape work. I just show up here and keep the show moving. So I appreciate you, Coach. And everybody, make sure you keep on tuning in. And we will see you next week on CAVS Hour.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scene Projects Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. You can find more at thesceneprojects.com. Join our community.
Pour that love on me like water. Got an ocean full of love that's made for two. We sail upon the ocean breeze and sunshine feels like you loving me. We got a good thing going on, that's true. I'm feeling fine, fine, fine. Boy, your love on me like wine. Come on, fill me up. Let me take a sip from your loving cup. Feeling fine, 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 fine. Boy, your love on me like wine.
SPSN.